I seem to be better at writing about how I feel in songs than in person. I'm the best at playing me. People who knew him well called him the Buddha of country music because he never got angry. That was not true, though. Willie Nelson is no longer teaching peace at age 92. He's calling people out. 7 artists who lied to him, made fun of his faith, or changed friendship into war. Some were stories. Some of them were brothers. And one was the last person he hated. You won't believe he did it. Number 1, Willie never put his trust in showman Garth Brooks. People who aren't Willie Nelson are on his list of people he hates the most. Garth Brooks is at the top of that list. Even people who have lived in Nashville for a long time still find it funny. Brooks made a lot of money with country music. But Willie swears he killed its soul too. In the 1990s, Brooks was flying across stadiums on wires while fireworks went off all around him. At the same time, Willie was still touring dusty county fairs with a gun to his knee. The crowd thought it was magic. Willie thought of it as a funeral for real. He told one of his friends, "You can't sell struggle if you've never been through it." This was after seeing Garth perform Friends in low places like it was a Broadway show. At the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2004, things came to a head one night. Garth stood on stage with a smile on his face and called Willie the soul of country music. On camera, it looked nice. Behind the scenes, Willie looked him in the eye and said, "Next time, sing it like you mean it." That line was like a storm through the business world. Willie has turned down every duo since that night. Every time they shared the stage or took a picture with Garth. Because Garth had made the forms so perfect, he couldn't stand it. Second, Shania Twain, the queen who made Willie lose faith in his country. Willie Nelson didn't like glitter, but Shania Twain made him very angry. He joked once that her shows looked more like Las Vegas than Nashville. He didn't mean it as a joke. As someone who has spent his whole life looking for truth in every line, seeing Shania turn country music into dance moves was like seeing a friend sell their soul for sequins. Shania's crossover hits, like "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and "That Don't Impress Me Much," were all over the radio in the late 1990s. This is when they started to fight. Music City was happy, but Willie wasn't. While on tour, he told a sound tech that country music should bleed, not sparkle. Soon, everyone knew that Willie didn't like the pop country wave she was setting off. At the CMA Awards, it all came to a head. She won Entertainer of the Year, and Willie sat a few rows back with a stone face. The cameras got him clapping nicely, but behind the scenes he whispered to a friend, "Entertainer? That's not country, though." After a short time, Shania tried to smile and greet him. "Everything, shake hands." Willie gave her a quick nod and then walked right past her like she wasn't there. In the business world, it was called vanity. Willie said it was honest. He thought she had traded pain for dance moves and real stories for radio scripts. He saw Shania as proof that the company had lost sight of what it was really about. Willie will still change the subject if you bring up her name. Shania Twain is the only person he hasn't really let back in, even though he has forgiven most people. He turned his back on his brother Waylon Jennings, who was number 3. Waylon Jennings was the one on Willie Nelson's list that hurt the most. This wasn't a competition in the same field. This family was getting cold. They helped make the underground movement what it is today. Behind the friendship, though, anger was ready to take its place. It began with fame. By the late 1970s, Waylon didn't like how every story always said Willie and Waylon and never Waylon and Willie. He started getting to meetings late, drinking more, and fighting over credits. People who knew them well said that Waylon would roll his eyes whenever someone called Willie the face of criminal country. Waylon lost it one night in the studio and yelled, "You're too high to play straight." Willie didn't say anything, just smiled, but he would never forget it. After an interview together in the early 1980s, they were no longer friends. Waylon called Willie, a hippie in cowboy boots who had forgotten where he was from, as a joke. The media laughed, but Willie didn't. Following the interview, he left in silence and quit calling. They never fixed it. Willie didn't go to the funeral for Waylon when he died in 2002. He sent her flowers and a note that said, see you somewhere on the road. People who knew him said it was his way of saying goodbye and accepting that the pain had never really gone away. 4. Toby Keith, the brave American who went too far. Bill Nelson didn't just hate Toby Keith, he also didn't like what Toby made country music into. It wasn't music that caused the fight, it was politics and pride. Willie once said, "A guitar should never fly a flag." He did that to get back at Toby without calling him out by name. It was clear to everyone in Nashville who he was talking about. Their fight began in the early 2000s, right after Toby was freed by the Red, White, and Blue. A lot of people loved the song, but Willie thought it was just propaganda. Willie had decided to play for unity instead of division at a benefit show in Austin for veterans. After him, Toby walked out on stage and waved the flag, shouting campaign slogans and turning the show into a rally for their cause. Willie was disgusted as he watched from backstage. Willie stopped Toby in his tracks and told him, "You're using music to fight, not heal." Tom laughed and turned around to leave. At that point, there was no going back. Willie quit all future bands that had Toby Keith on them. He wouldn't even show up on the same benefit events. He told people behind the scenes that Toby's act was just an ad dressed up in camouflage. Years later, Toby tried to get in touch with her through a friend they both had. He sent her a message saying he didn't mean any harm. Willie didn't answer. He told his men, "I've met louder men, but not many emptier ones." Willie's world had a quiet rule from that day on. Should Toby Keith be on the picture, Willie Nelson should not be there. 5th, Merle Haggard, the friend who did something wrong. It wasn't just another artist talking when Merle Haggard made fun of Willie Nelson. It was a brother who was drawing blood. There were times when these two men took the same bus, stayed in the same room, and wrote songs together. But somewhere along the trips and the years, Merle forgot that Willie could remember everything. It began small. It got funny for Merle to say in interviews that Willie's stance on marijuana had turned him into a mascot instead of a singer. Willie laughed it off at first, but Merle said it again. This time it was live on stage, and Willie was sitting not far away. They called weeds a lazy man's crutch, and everyone laughed. Willie didn't. After the set was over, he just strummed his guitar and walked right to the bus. Things never went back to normal after that night. It was clear that there was tension behind the scenes. They quietly dropped plans for a joint record they had been working on. Merle's calls to Willie's boss were being turned down. Fans kept wondering when the two stars would work together again. They didn't. When Merle tried to make peace years later, Willie just said, "There are some things you don't joke about." No longer was it anger. Sadness filled the room. Willie called Merle one of the greats when he died in 2016, but friends also knew that. He didn't say one of my best friends. It said everything in that quiet. They had a line that they could never cross back to be brothers again. 6th place goes to Chris Christopherson. Willie never forgot those words. Can one line really break up friends who have been friends for 40 years? It did for Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson. These two were brothers, and they got through everything together. But one careless word was enough to break 40 years of loyalty. It happened at a private fundraiser in the middle of the 2000s. There were musicians in the room, a few reporters hanging out in the back, and whiskey on every table. Willie had just finished singing a quiet political song about war and farm workers. Chris, who was half high, leaned over to the group of people around him and said, "Willie's become more of a mascot than a musician." Then people laughed, but Willie wasn't one of them. He heard it. Friends said he stood there still for a second and then quietly left the room. His helper changed the date of their next duet the next morning. From that day on, calls were not taken. After the fact, when people asked Willie about it, he just said that words don't always fade, they stain. That was all he ever said in public. Chris tried to say sorry to Willie once through a friend they both had, but Willie wouldn't talk. He said in a low voice, "You can't call me brother after that." Years of friendship gone in an instant. Kid Rock, the crazy one who crossed the line, is number 7. Everyone thought that Willie Nelson and Kid Rock's plan to record together would be a fun but safe test. It was not expected that it would lead to one of Willie's worst studio problems ever. Willie went in to hear music. Kid Rock came to look for a party. In 2008, when Kid Rock was going through his Southern rebel phase, they met in Nashville. He told Willie about an idea for a tough guy song that was loud, dirty, and mixed with other types of music. Willie said yes because he was willing to take a chance. That is, until Kid Rock showed up late with a beer and blared his own songs over the speakers. That's when Willie knew he had made a mistake. Musicians who were there that night say Kid didn't listen to any of the instructions and yelled, "Let it be raw," while distorting Willie's voice. Willie tried to make things less tense by offering a less strict plan. The Kid laughed and told the old man, "Let loose." That was it. Willie got up, took off his headphones, and walked out of the room without saying anything. That was the end of the lesson. The song was never put out. When a reporter later asked Willie what had happened, he just said, "Some fires are better left unlit." But that calm answer was really disgusted. Willie has turned down every offer to work with him again since then. Kid Rock was just another loud voice that didn't have anything important to say to him. What do you think? Did Willie Nelson do the right thing by cutting them off? Or should those scars have healed over time? Don't forget to hit the like button and tell us if any of these names shocked you. Sign up for our newsletter, too, because the country heroes still have some stories to tell.